All right. Welcome, everyone, to our daily success call. John Lavenia here with you. It is Tuesday, the 10th of August, 2021. And I'm excited to be here with you. We're going to have a fun little topic discussion today. We got a lot going on. And naturally, as soon as I start a broadcast, somebody starts ringing my phone. So let me go ahead and put that on Do Not Disturb. Let me make sure my computer is silenced as well. Do you guys silence your alerts? Like I've got, I'm on a Mac, and you've got all the notification settings, but then you've also got this thing where you could just toggle it on and off, or set it for a certain amount of time, called Do Not Disturb. Makes a little crescent moon symbol. Excuse me. So it's almost all the time on, like Do Not Disturb mode. I pretty much live on Do Not Disturb mode most of the day. Sometimes I'll turn it off, and it'll be like 10 million notifications, and I'm like, delete all, and then about a half hour later, I'll go back on Do Not Disturb mode, because I know where my communication lines are. I don't need all these binging and bonging things going on. Imagine that you're in the middle of this creative design, and all of a sudden, bing bong! Right? Oh no! Did anyone see the movie As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson, where he enacts he's a romance novelist, right? And he's sitting there in his apartment, and he's coming up with the final words of the book. And love was, and then the doorbell rings, and he throws his pen. Can you believe this? He opens the door. What the hell do you want? Love was, yeah. Oh, well. Anyway, I'm excited to be here with you all. Missy, you've got a topic for us today. Excuse me. Concerning the fallacy of failure. Where's your brain going with this today, Missy? Enlighten us.
I had gear bubbleitis all weekend because they are cray-cray. And I still haven't heard back from this guy. I was working with Etsy. They can't figure anything out. And this guy I think he's hiding under his bed, the way I wrote the letter. But there's a problem. If you don't have SKUs written in your thing, they do not know what to send the person.
Okay.
So I'm still trying to find out. Some people get it sent through automatically. Mine is not. I'm still waiting to find out why, but you can easily get all their Gear Bubbles SKUs. Etsy doesn't need it. Gear Bubble must have the SKUs. You just click on the money sign, click print. They'll give you every SKU for every product, and then you can go in and put it in. And when I find out how this gets to pushed automatically, I'll let every low hanging know.
All right, that is completely not the topic that you were saying that.
No, I'm sorry. So it was all a failure. I was spending hours and hours and hours getting nowhere on chat for 3 hours. So I was so upset that day that I said this whole day was a failure. I was starting to watch another video, and it was more than that. It was like 6 hours going back into. So the next day, I came up and I said, that is no way a failure. That is just, I learned everything I can't do. I learned Gear Bubble doesn't know 100% what it's doing. They told me to close my Etsy store and reopen it. Etsy said, don't do that. You'll lose everything.
Right.
So I don't know. It excited me. It made me feel happy and made me think differently about that word failure. It just does not exist. It is not a real word unless they said, when Neil Armstrong was ready to jump out, he said, I'm not going to do it. If he went back in the LEM, that would have been a failure.
Right.
But otherwise, it doesn't exist.
All right. So beautiful. Thank you, Missy. And so right now we got some new people here wondering, here's this Missy person saying that failure doesn't exist. So how can that be? I mean, after all, look at these other things that I didn't get the result that I wanted to get. I would call that a failure.
It's a delusion.
Okay, right. And so we're going to look at having missed the mark versus identifying with or as the failure. This is a major distinction. There's a difference between having not achieved the optimal result and being a failure. Okay, Scott, you've got your hand up. Did you have something you wanted to inject here before I go off on a rant? Can't hear Scott. Got no sound on you, brother. Is it just me? Can anybody hear Scott? No?
I can't. No.
Okay. Scott, we'll come back to you, man. Glad you're here. Let's get your microphone working. And then yeah, and then it'll be working. So here's the idea. There's a difference between having missed the mark and having being right or identifying with or as the failure. We go through life, in case that wasn't apparent, and we have wins and losses. Okay, and we can have the tendency to fixate our attention on the losses because I mean the wins are pleasing. That's nice. Okay, but we still have other problems to solve, right? And so where does my attention typically go? Does it sit there? Do I sit there dwelling on, how nice the roses smell? Me, I'll just speak for myself. Typically, no. Typically, I could use a reminder. Hey, John, go take a walk. Go look at trees. Go smell the roses. Go do something that isn't, you just being all in the significance of all the problems you solve for everyone in your life, right? So there can be a tendency for me to get out of balance and to fixate on things that are seemingly a problem. Or let me say this, undone. All right, you guys know my favorite word is done. Thank you for the coffee cup, Jan and Missy, right? But this is not done. Okay. Oh, that's not done. So now I'm going to fixate my attention on that. And in some cases, attempt to force solutions because I want stuff to get done. And if we look at the anatomy of success itself, it is completing what you start. Therefore, the anatomy of failure is not completing what you start or having never started. Missy mentioned Neil Armstrong, which I thought was an interesting, metaphor. Right. So here, had he not jumped off of the step onto the moon, right, which I think is what Missy was referring to, if we're thinking of the same guy here, had he not taken that final step and not achieved a done, it would not have been a successful action or a successful mission. Right. And we can abort missions anywhere along the line. Here's the problem. So many of us are so into aborting missions habitually that we again and again and again don't complete what we start. We think we make a decision, and maybe in a moment of insight, and sometimes that's all you get is a moment, okay, because it's fleeting, but you've got a flash of clarity, right? You know what? I'm going to do that. And so you start. Okay, now you're in. Don't back up. Don't you ever back up. Don't do it. I'm telling you, there's actually a Bible story about this. Some of us have recently discussed this. This is all the way back in Genesis. So Sodom and Gomorrah, there's this, the wicked cities, but there's this one righteous family, you see. And so the angel comes and says, hey, get out of Dodge. We're going to burn the place down, run to the hills. All right. So there's the moment of clarity. The angel spoke, right? Here's the insight. Here's the enlightenment, right? Get out of here. Don't look back. Don't look back. Okay. So they run to the hills, but the one guy's wife, looked back and turned into a pillar of salt. Stopped, right? Don't look back. So what we're really talking about here, when we talk about the intentional disregard of failure, is that we continue looking in the direction that we're going, despite the undones. Okay, we're going to handle those on the path. Okay, but we don't keep looking back as if, there's a way to turn back on that decision. Decisiveness is one of the most important principles that you can incorporate into your life. And it takes a bit of practice, right? Because people are just like, I tend to fixate attention on what's not done. People tend to avoid making decisions. Now, little insignificant decisions that we make on a habitual basis, well, that's not even, that decision's already made, right? So what did you decide to do today? Wake up, eat breakfast or whatever, right? Go potty. All right, insignificant. So now we're adding significance. So the stakes are higher, right? Start that business, right? Get through the other hurdles that you've got to jump over because you don't know everything, right? You've got to learn some stuff. And look, we're dealing with technology. There's problems. And you know what? That keeps it interesting. It's nice when the problems get solved and are done, right? So now Misty can get on with more exciting actions. Okay. Rather than sitting there 3-6 hours on a chat. My goodness. So for me, that's an out point. I'd be on the phone with somebody right now, like saying, hey, somebody's got to get fired or something, you know. But the idea that now you're identifying with that loss or as the loser or the failure, that's the problem right there. So the thing that stops us from looking forward and never turning back, right, are all of our considerations about why we can't. Because after all, yesterday I missed the mark yesterday, and I'm still that guy, right? Oh, okay. So I'm dragging yesterday with me into today to hopefully create a better tomorrow. Wrong answer. So what do we mean here by the fallacy of failure? For those of you reading The Power of Consistency by Weldon Long, he cites a formula that I actually talked about in my book as well, because it's so damn obvious if we just look. Okay, so this is a guy who was willing to look. By the way, if you haven't read that book, it's on the reading list. Okay, for newcomers, definitely put it on your reading list. This guy spent 13 years in prison, repeat offender, criminal, thief, right? Turned his whole life around by consistent focus on principle-centered living and actually having reasons and purposes and goals, right, to show up for, and to stop showing up as a criminal and to actually accept responsibility. Who's the guy who keeps showing up at the scene of the crime? Oh my goodness, it's me, right? I'm not the victim. Okay, so he had an awakening, and then he had 7 more years in prison to sit there and think about it consistently, and now he's a multimillionaire. So and he didn't steal the money. He started businesses in the heating and air conditioning industry. So you can make money in anything, right? Heating and air conditioning, coffee cups, whatever, fill in the blank, right? There's a market for everything. So so the formula he offered is that there's thought, right? So we have some thoughts, and then we have some feelings about those thoughts. And then based on our emotions and the decisions, right, that are induced with that emotion, we take action, right? So here's action. And then there's a result. And then we look at those results, and we have thoughts about them. And we have an emotional state that's induced by those thoughts. And then we take actions, and then we get a result. And then we think about it, feel, act, result, thought, emotion, action, result. That's the cycle, upward or downward. Where's failure in that? You did something, or you failed to do something, you omitted something. So whether it's an act of commission or omission, there is a result, pleasing or not, a very successfully demonstrable result. So where in the universe is there failure? So if you're getting crappy results, you're very successful in getting crappy results. Can you change that pattern? Can you change the downward spiral into an upward spiral? Yes, but it takes the most intense work you can imagine. It's called thinking, right? That's what begins the cycle. Okay, so you observe having missed the mark, you observe the deficit condition or the so-called failure, right? The undone, right? The loss. And then what? You have some different thoughts about it. You look, how could I solve that, right? What is something I could do to be cause over that? What part of this pile of crap can I be responsible for? What part of this can I be responsible for? Great, let me cause something now. Oh, I feel better about myself because I'm not just sitting here, crying in my soup. I'm doing something about it. Okay, great. And then you may take that action, and now there's a new result, right? Maybe incrementally better. May still be getting worse. The stats may still be going down, but because you're a smart person and you're using your inner eye of understanding, you know that we just planted some seeds here. This is going in the right direction now. And then, oh, look, a sprout is coming out of the ground. Yay, right? And then you can go ahead and celebrate, this little bit of evidence that you just got something done. And this is why, especially when we're new in any new endeavor, like your business, that we get some wins right out of the gate. In fact, I was saying this to, who was it? My goodness, I was saying this to Adam just the other day. You guys know Adam, the head coach, the e-commerce coach. I was saying to Adam, people want to have wins right out of the gate. Now, I'm not saying instant gratification, effortless victories, microwave results. Okay. But anything we can do to acknowledge that we are moving in the right direction, that's a win. That's emotionally edifying for me. It builds myself up through my own education of myself via my observation, right? So what can you do, talking to you now, what can you do to observe the wins and not fixate your attention on the so-called losses? We're going to have both. Okay. But my goodness, don't allow your attention to be fixated on that. In fact, don't entertain suggestions that are contrary to you actually being a goal achiever, right? We talked about this the other day when we talked about Napoleon Hill's the four points on how to develop persistence, right? Mm-hmm. One of them was a mind closed tightly against negative influences. Those can be outside influences, but you can also induce for yourself and in yourself a conversation that is self-defeating. So look at that. I mean, look at your own internal dialogue and see if you've been doing like some self-deprecation crap on yourself. You're not a failure. Look, people with low self-esteem don't show up here, start businesses and get into conversations like this. You're highly esteemed people. Says me, right? And you can go with that, or you can disagree. You can do whatever you want. I'm just letting you know, I wouldn't be here investing my time with you if I didn't think you were worth it. So do with that what you will. No, there's no failures here, right? You can go watch 7 hours of Netflix a day, right? If that's what life's about. But no, you're here listening to something much more entertaining than anything you could possibly find on Netflix. You hear this Italian guy running his mouth for a half hour a day on Zoom and YouTube, right? Lucky you. Thank you for introducing the topic, Missy. Think about that. Think about the anatomy of success is completing what you start. You make a decision, you do the action till it's done. And at that point, you recognize the success. That can be little things. Missy was successful yesterday. It took much, much longer than it should have in terms of, doing the thing with the people and getting the solutions. Okay. But anything we take to a done, we've got to acknowledge the done. We've got to celebrate that. Even if it's something small, even if it didn't put money in your bank account in that exact moment, you're going in that right direction. We must, if you're going to fixate your attention on anything, fixate it on that. You guys ever heard of, this is a psychiatric term called manic depressive. Interesting. So I'm not in agreement with psychiatry and all the labels that they do and put people on drugs. Okay. But I could tell you that this is a term that's been around for a while. And if you look at what the words mean, manic, on top of the world, accomplishing 10 million things, manic. That's what that means. Depressive, apathetic, doing nothing, down in the dumps, right? And so this is like two polar opposites kind of a thing based on, this idea, this postulate that there is a manic depressive type personality. The person who has fixated their attention on the losses, we could say, is in that depressed state. Okay. The person who fixates their attention on the wins and the purposes and the victories, we could say, is in the manic state. And if you are conscious of your own thinking, which according to, people who talk and write a lot about this stuff, people aren't conscious of it, which is why they're the effect of this manic depressive state or whatever. But if you're conscious and if you can actually look, how am I feeling right now? If you could just stop and you can say, you know what, I'm feeling kind of, less than enthusiastic right now. All right, what's going on? What is my attention on right now? What thoughts am I allowing myself to think, which are causing me to feel this way and therefore not take action? Okay, got it. Well, now that you know what those things are that you've been fixating your attention on, great. What do we do to remind ourselves? And this is where your goal card, your dream board, whatever you're doing, to remain on purpose and to remember what your purpose is and keep it in your face, right? Go look at those reminders and then feel the feelings of having already accomplished that. Yeah, you know what? That's where I'm going. Yeah, we got a pile of turds right here we're dealing with, but that's where we're going. Right. You know what? I think I got a solution. I could do something right now about this problem. Even if that means right now, I'm going to go ahead and put this problem aside because I got something else I can get done right now and I deserve a win. So let me go win over here and then we'll handle this problem. And then you come back and the problem looks smaller because now you're more objective about it. You're not in it, right? You're above it. You're looking down at it more objectively and the problem gets solved. If there's only, and I wasn't there, so I didn't observe the action that Missy took, but if there's one thing that I might suggest would be, don't spend 6 hours, fixating on, whatever that was, and again, I don't know all the circumstances around that, but it sounds bizarre to me. And I hope you never experience anything like that ever again. And maybe because of your sacrifice, Missy, because of your sacrifice, no one else will have to experience that as well. So thank you for all you do, Missy. Let me acknowledge you. Yes, you're just so awesome. All right, I'm done talking. What time is it? 35 minutes past the hour. I see Denise and then Missy. Hey, Denise, you've got the floor, my friend. Denise Jensen.
Hello.
There she is.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Awesome.
Good. Okay, so along with what Missy's been saying, so I kind of took a different route than most people because of all of my illnesses and things like that. I decided that what I was going to focus on was getting everything set up first, because I'm doing the Etsy store and Amazon and a Gear Bubble store. And so I decided that I was just going to get product put on those first, lots of product put on them, and then focus on getting sales. So I now have, I think, enough product on all my stores that now I'm going to work on sales. And so I have had a few sales here and there, but I wasn't like really excited about it or anything. But now I'm focusing on sales. So yesterday, what I did for the Gear Bubble store, you have to do ads on Facebook or ads somewhere. So yesterday, there's a training thing called PPC for Facebook ads that Gear Bubble provided. And yesterday I went through it. I had gone through it before, but yesterday I went through it again. And for 6 hours, like Missy, I tried to figure out how to do the Facebook ads. But because Facebook changes things so much, what he had on his training was completely different than what Facebook is now. And I could not figure it out. It was crazy and I could not figure it out. So I did a John, and what I decided was I couldn't do it. I am going to find somebody that either can do it for me or somebody that can teach me how to do it. So I went online and I found somebody that trains you how to do Facebook ads. So I'm not going to spend another 6 hours trying to figure out how to do Facebook ads.
Right.
So I'm focusing now on getting sales. So hopefully I'll start seeing some.
Oh, well, you already saw a little, and you're going to see a lot more. And now that you're outflowing promoon, right? That's a key component of marketing.
Hello and welcome.
Right.
And by the way, I've got
Coach
uh-oh.
here in
Hi,
the
Delia.
Banking
Let me go ahead and mute Delia's microphone. She's listening to me apparently. But I have people that, in fact, my wife was just on with one of the people we pay for consulting, who does social media stuff for our companies, right? Because I'm not an expert with that. You can't be all things to all people. Frankly, I'm not that interested. This guy loves it, and so we pay him a couple $1,000s a month to do all the social media stuff, right?
Right.
And he's good at it because interest renders aptitude, right? I mean, if you were interested, you'd have an aptitude. Personally, it's not my thing. This guy loves it. Right here, have some money, go do it. Right. So beautiful. Thank you, Denise. Anybody else who spent 6 hours doing something yesterday? Missy, come on out, Missy, and then we'll go to Michael. Missy.
I just wanted to follow up with that story. I spent
Mhm.
6 hours because I'm like a dog with a bone, and it was in a chat, and it was so long, people kept leaving the chat, and I should have given up because I wasn't getting the answers, but I was in this stupid mindset. And so the next day I called Etsy, and the girl went above and beyond the call of duty. She watched videos on Gear Bubble. She Googled things in Etsy. She said, I find more about Etsy by Googling than I do in my training. But here's what she said. She said, Missy, I have no answers for you. You're going to have to start a support group for people with and Etsy integration problems. So I said, well, I'm going to do that because according to Gear Bubble, it's not everyone that's having this problem. It's a few people. There are links broken in integrations. And when I get the answer, I will let low hanging know and let this page know when I find out, because I will know, because this man ain't going anywhere. I'm going to hold him by the tail till he gives me the answer.
Beautiful. And I like your suggestion, because what Denise was just saying, as far as in this case, she was citing the technical differences with Facebook. Okay, but here's the training video that has to do with this technology, and here's the user interface, and look, we're clicking the buttons. Okay, and the next week they move all the buttons, or they add features or whatever. So it is nigh impossible to give you current, here's exactly what you do when we're dealing with, tech and third-party technology providers, right? I don't control Etsy. Rachel doesn't control Etsy or Facebook or Gear Bubble, right? So, it's a moving target. And keep in mind, guys, when we engage in something, thank you again, Missy, when we engage in something that has a lot of, growth potential, there's bugs and growing pains and stuff, right? I mean, once something is self-evident, well, I guess there's still an opportunity there to whatever degree. People still buy vinyl records for novelty and nostalgia and whatever, unless you're my daughter, she's just all of a sudden into turntables for some reason. But is that like a good industry to get into now? We're going to start pressing vinyl records? No, if you've already been in it, you could sell a record here and there, but it's not, it's not the bonanza that it was, right? That ship has sailed. All right. So, okay. Michael, let's go to Michael and then Chris. Hey, Michael, you've got the floor, sir.
Right. One of the issues, I haven't created any actual mugs yet. However, one of the stores that I have my jewelry in said, we're looking, I said, I'm into this. I'm doing the print on demand mugs. And the woman says, oh, well, we need mugs and we want to pick on them. So I said, great. So I contacted you and you said, well, I'm not the person contact. So I've been, for the last 2 days, I've been here, there, and everywhere. And the feedback I'm getting isn't really, I'm not really happy with the solution. I gotta be honest with you. The solution came back to me that because it's in Canada, they have a very high VAT rate, which is news to me kind of thing. And they were saying, well, what's the quantity the person wants? I said, well, let me check on that. And they wanted the address. So I said, here, it's in Canada. So the feedback I'm getting is, well, why don't you go to a different company to do smaller quantities? I'm like, well, to me, that's not the answer. I didn't sign up to do this to go to a different company. I did this because I could do this worldwide, and I would not want to take the potential revenue and experiences from Rachel's system and go to somebody else. That's not really what I'd like to do. Now,
You're talking about manufacturing?
Not well, I'm not sure, because I said I want to give these guys a quote for mugs with their pig picture on it. And I said, well, I don't even know how to do that yet. So help me out here. But the feedback I'm getting is, we can do a mixed case or individual, 6x6 or 18x2. But the VAT is very high, and custom charges, and maybe look into a company in Canada. I guess Printify was the suggestion.
Can I offer some insight on that, Michael?
Yes.
Okay. So as an author, right, here's the book. So I wrote the book and now I published the book with Amazon, what's now known as KDP, used to be Create Space. Okay. Self-publishing. So it's print on demand. You load the manuscript, the artwork, the price, you set all the parameters, right? And then Amazon says, okay, and so if you're going to charge $20 for the book, then your cut's going to be $7.84. Unless you're selling in this country, then it's going to be $8. If you sell it over there, you're going to get $5, right? So, right. But I said $20, okay? And then I'll eat whatever variables are in there. I don't care. Now, I'm going to go do an event I'm going to go do an event at the ballroom, you see, and there's going to be 1,000 people in the audience, and I'm going to sell books at the back of the room. Okay. And Amazon says, would you like cases of books for $10 each? And I say, no, thank you. You do your publishing thing over there with your website. Okay. That I hear there's a few people that show up and buy books over there. I'm going to go to 48hourbooks.com over in Ohio, and I'm going to give them the same manuscript because I keep the rights to all my stuff. And in 48 hours, there's going to be a pallet of books showing up at the venue, and it's going to cost me $4 instead of 10. Okay. So, right. And it's the same exact product.
Yeah.
But I'm not paying Jeff Bezos, an extra $6, All right. So maybe this first run isn't, profit falling from the sky. You made $5 instead of, 8 or something, but you got the product out there. Right now you got your hooks in, and now, all right, what other combinations can we put in place to increase profitability if we're going to do volume here? Right now, we're doing a run of, I don't know how many products you're talking about. Okay. So
and I just wanted to keep, I guess, keep the profits in house, if you will. If I have to, if I lose a little bit on the sale, that's fine, but I wanted to keep it within Rachel's company and not go to outside of her company. That was kind of my point. I understand about the profit margins and the rights and again, profit margins will go up. That's not my focus. Is making more money. My focus is working with the low hanging system team to develop a good product so that I can get it, even if I have to take a little bit of a bite on the taxes and the customs. That's okay, as long as they're happy and my customer's happy at the end of the day, and I'm kind of keeping it.
There it is. The customer. And what does the customer want? I'll tell you what, bro, it's the 21st century. Speed to market. Okay. So whatever gets a quality product into the hand of the customer faster, that's the holy friggin' grail right there, man. I don't care about the logistics or all the drama that led up to it. All right. We got to get this done, get that customer a product in their hands by whatever means. Right. So that's how I look at it. Customer comes first. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if I can get Printify mugs at wholesale, because I'm like everybody else off the street kind of thing. You know what I mean? Okay. So that's my thing. It's like, well, they might as well do it themselves if if that's the case. I want to stick within this company. So how can I do that? And I do see what you're saying. Again, customer focused, get it what they need right now, the way they like it, so they're happy in the end. Absolutely. Right. But in this case, do I just say, okay, here, go to this company, which I've blown one of my clients because they own a store that sells mugs and other things, or do I do the opposite direction and say, no, sorry, let's keep hammering the big rock here and make some cracks. Right. Here's my suggestion. In fact, Missy just nailed it in the chat. Even Rachel recommends other companies. So don't marry the vehicle. Okay. The product in the customer's hand and the smile on their face. That's the product. Smiling customer holding your stuff. Yeah. That's the product. Yes. All right. So by what means? I don't know. Right. Okay. So okay. Yeah. So it's all right. You see what I'm going with loyalty, though, right? Understand, right? Yeah, I got that. You're 100. You're a beautiful guy, Michael. We all love you, man. You're awesome. Yeah. Okay. Great. Get the friggin' product out. Right. In fact, learn something in the process. You make nothing. I made nothing on this deal, but my goodness, did I get an education about, manufacturing and okay. What's that worth? Right. And now the happy smiling customer has your product in her hand. And here comes the colleague and the other guy from the other company. And like, oh, where'd you get that? Oh, this guy, Michael, he took care of everything. I had the stuff in my hand in 48 hours. Oh, here's Michael's number. Okay. Thank you. There's the $1 million card. Right. Okay. You're awesome, man. Glad you're here. Sorry you're dealing with, I'm not sorry. You're dealing with growing pains. Welcome. Hey. All right. Kristen, and then we'll go to Denise again. Hey, Kristen.
Hi. I just want to, I don't want to make this a totally technical call, but I just want to address Missy. I was on the early part of the call yesterday when she was telling about her orders not going through Gear Bubble. And I had an order out there and I thought, well, I better check. And sure enough, it hadn't gone through either. And so I called Gear Bubble. I didn't spend 6 hours. I got the same person Missy was talking to.
Oh, wow.
She led me to a YouTube video, and I just kind of put it aside. Today, Adam was having a webinar at noon, and I asked him about the Gear Bubble glitch, and he said, we need to be patient. The reason those things are breaking, the SKU links are breaking, is because once we download it, we go straight to our Etsy shop, and it hasn't had time to incubate, I guess is the word. He said sometimes it takes more than half an hour. So I'm going to go back through and just check my SKUs, because I know in the early creation days, I was anxious. I would go right to my Etsy shop and see if it was there. And I was probably breaking the links.
Hmm.
So and Adam does have another call today at 4 Eastern time. So if anybody has questions, they can get on there, but it should be in the recordings and the trainings today, the stuff he did today. And Michael, check with Adam because he's from Canada.
There you go. We got the Canucks in the house. Thank you, Chris. And yeah, when we're dealing with technology that's going across a network, there is such a thing as propagation, which may or may not be, instantaneous, depending on server speed and queues, right? Batches and right. So yeah, it's not going at the speed of thought, which you think these days it might be, but it's not. So thank you, Chris. You're awesome. Denise, you've got the floor again. Denise.
I just actually wanted to ask Michael, for those mugs, Michael, what did you say that where you had to put a design on them?
I think they're going to they picked their own design. So it's going to probably say their company name and the pig, and that's pretty much it.
Oh, so they give you the pig to put on it?
Yeah, that's my idea because, I went through like 800 pictures and I'm like, this is ridiculous. How can I pick something for my client when, they're the ones who are going to ultimately choose what they like. So my idea is just to go with what they had because they did use a couple of different pigs in logos and I had seen them on different commercials. There's a pig that's sticking his head out the window with a little pinwheel going, wee, wee, wee. And the mother's like, okay, fine, we're home. Get it?
Okay.
We all the way home. So
Okay.
they took
Well,
that pig.
if you need someone to do graphics, I know someone that can do them really cheap.
Okay.
Just to let you know.
No, great. Thank you. Yes, definitely. Okay. I'll always collect contacts.
Okay.
Very good. All
Thank
right.
you.
So we got wee piggy all the way home. That's beautiful. All right, guys. Well, I guess with that, it doesn't get any more profound than that, right? So let's go ahead and wrap up now that we've all climaxed here with our thoughts. And I will see you back here tomorrow. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Tune into Adam today with e-commerce tips. And then those of you who I'm meeting with today, I know I've got a little backlog of calls. So some of you I've left voicemails for, and some we need to connect. So we'll definitely connect. All right. You guys have an awesome day. I'll see you back here tomorrow. All right. Bye.